So you cannot accurately love God if you do not first understand how God loves you. That's what John was saying. So your entry point into the journey of your Christian pilgrimage begins with loving God. Now, as you love God, your love for God will drive you to know God. And as you begin to know God, ultimately you will begin to serve the will of God. That's what it means to serve God. To serve God is not just to sing in the choir. Singing in the choir might help our order of service within our denominations. But to serve God, the implication of serving God means that you are living to serve his will. His purposes can find expression through your life unhindered. So you live for the purposes of God. And that living for the purposes of God on a daily basis is what we call worship. Are you still here? Stay with me. We're talking about praying always. That living for God on a daily basis is what we call worship. In our worship, like I was saying during the conclave, in our worship, we sing. In our worship, we fellowship. What we are doing now on Sunday evening is fellowship. We are gathering together as the saints of God as part of our worship experience. As part of our worship, we give. Giving is part of worship. You offer your gifts as a sacrifice unto God. It's part of worship. So we give. We give our time. We give our money. We give our skills. We give our giftings unto God. So that, for instance, church life can be easy. It can find ease of expression without hindrances and without hiccups. It's part of our worship. And a critical area of our worship is something we call what? Prayer. So prayer is one dimension of the expression of our daily worship. That's where I'm going. So by the time you come into the place where you are serving the purposes of God, every dimension of the expression of worship should be finding expression through your life. Fasting is part of your worship. It's part of your worship. So the Bible will tell us that you should not forsake the assembly of the brethren. Because even though a Christian can be born in isolation, a Christian is not designed to grow in isolation. You need the company of other brethren to be able to grow accurately in the faith. So you cannot forsake the assembly of the brethren. It's in the assembly of the brethren that iron will sharpen iron. It's in the assembly of the brethren that you will be comforted and you will be strengthened. It's also in the assembly of the brethren that death will be administered to your flesh. I've taught you before that there are two major tools for the administration of death to self in the context of Christian pilgrimage. One is marriage, the other one is fellowship. Marriage is one of the ways that God will make sure that you die. It is dead men and women that marry. If your flesh is still alive, oh, Brother Chigoze, this must be for you. If your flesh is still alive, you will find out that God needs to administer death to you for you to be able to stay in marriage and find the grace and the mercy and the power of God at work in your union. It is men that have come to the place where the government of God has become absolute over them that succeed in marriage. Because you will find out that that brother that can pray for 10 hours, that brother that can engage in all kinds of spiritual exercises has not dealt with his pride, has not dealt with his anger, has not dealt with his frugality. He doesn't even know how to manage money. So you will find out that even though he wears a good suit, he can have smelly socks. And even though he knows how to package himself in public, he cannot coordinate himself at home. So you as a sister will now need to die to be able to manage these excesses that are found in his mortal expression. It's the same thing with fellowship. God will put you in a congregation. The day you begin to pray, Lord, teach me how to love the brethren. An angel is not going to appear in your room with a big scroll. I know you want to see an angel with a scroll, but the angel is not going to come with a scroll and then you will see at the back of the scroll the book of how to love the brethren. What the Lord is going to do actually is that he's going to now raise people within the congregation that will test that love in your heart. So your fellow brother, your sister in church will be the people that God will use to teach you how to love the brethren. So he will now put you around unlovable people, people that are impossible to love. Have you met those kind of people? That even when you try to love them, there is no way to love them. They are impossible to love. Those are the kind of people God is now going to use to bring you into the school of teach me how to love the brethren. When God was speaking about forgiveness, he said, Peter asked, how many times should I forgive my brother? And Jesus said, I don't want to use the numbers. What Jesus was basically saying is that as much as is required to forgive your brother, forgive. Forgive. So in the aspect of fellowship, in the aspect of giving, in the aspect of singing, in the aspect of fasting, and in the aspect of prayer, as you live your life on a daily basis, your worship is supposed to be coming before the Lord as sweet incense. So when Paul prayed for the Ephesian church, he said that you may know the love of God. That doeth what? Passeth knowledge. So that by the time you experience the love of God that passeth knowledge, you may now be filled with the fullness of God. So the love of God is what initiates your Christian journey. I'm trying to say to you, the reason I'm starting there is, I find that in this generation, every time the matter of prayer is brought up, what we present to people as the motivation for prayer and the reward for prayer, most of the time is wrong. Are you with me? The average young person that is praying now, his motivation for prayer is the supernatural. He wants to operate in this realm like a spirit, and that is a legitimate desire. I'm going to talk about that, right? But you see, everything in the Christian faith that we call worship, the motive must be love. Are you here? Understand this, because you see, the reason many people don't have a consistent prayer life, many times the motivation for prayer is wrong. Is wrong. If it is love that is driving your prayer engagement, dear sister, you cannot stay away from somebody who you genuinely love. It's impossible. You cannot give somebody you genuinely love the silent treatment. You will be missing the person's voice. In the Christian faith, everything we call worship must be motivated by what? Love. So when Jesus is teaching his disciples how to pray, the first thing he introduces, dear brother, is relationship. Are you here? He says, our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. So the first basis for prayer is that you must have relationship. And this relationship, I'm telling you now, must be powered by what? Love. If ever you are engaging in a spiritual discipline that is not motivated by love, you will struggle. If you are not struggling and you are engaging in that spiritual discipline, I know what you will look like. You will be a hypocrite. You are a performer. You are an actor. You will be living, you will be acting something that has not really found true root in your own life. And this is why, those of you on social media, you would have seen a news that has been flying around for some days now of a brother who was a campus fellowship president that has now switched. In fact, they were celebrating his wedding. He was not marrying his sister. And the question is, how does somebody transit from fellowship president in one of the biggest campus fellowships in his campus to marrying a fellow man? How did that transition happen? And say you know that that kind of thing is not something that happened overnight. That degradation has existed since. But you see, there's a way you can be doing this Christian life, and you will have a form of godliness, but you are denying the power. Because if the motive is wrong, you see, I don't know why I'm starting here, but it's easy to just come and teach this thing about prayer and tell you, let's fly. But you see, when I prayed, this is the burden the Lord was giving to me. Many times, the reason you are struggling with your spiritual disciplines, you are doing it for the wrong reasons. That's what I'm saying. And the way the Christian life is designed is that you can be doing it for the wrong reasons and you will be looking like you are getting it right. You can be doing it for the wrong reasons. What must motivate your spiritual disciplines is the genuine and sincere love for God. But you see, the problem, brother, is if you don't first understand how God loves you, your reciprocity in love will be wrong.